So I've just finished watching Manchester United's first pre-season tour match against Arsenal, which did, of course, end in a 2-1 defeat. But as always with pre-season, the result isn't really the big thing. The two important things coming out of pre-season are always the performance of the players and the fitness of the players. And unfortunately, it's the fitness of the players we're going to have to talk about first, because in that game, we have lost both Lenny Yoro and Rasmus Hojlund to injury, both of them seemingly for an unknown period of time. Firstly, Rasmus, who looks like he's done some sort of hamstring injury, which means you're probably looking at best case scenario, he's going to miss the rest of pre-season and probably could miss the Community Shield as well, which is a huge loss because obviously Xerxes is still to come in. And then Lenny Yoro, it looks like some sort of ankle injury, but it's unclear whether or not it was an impact injury or a twist or a sprain or a fracture. We don't know. So Erik ten Hag's interview after the game, he sort of said, Rasmus, we sort of understand it. Yoro, we're a bit more unclear. So that's a real worry for me already because, I mean, we're 3 games into pre-season and we've already lost over £100 million worth of talent to innocuous injuries, not even 25 minutes into the first tour match, which is a real worry. And the good news is, obviously, we do have cover for them, and I know we're still in the market for a new centre-back. We've got Xerxes coming in for Hojlund, and we've still got Wheatley. So I think we're covered in terms of the striker position, although there's still links with us with Ivan Toney. But to lose 2 players that we've invested heavily in the last 2 seasons already, with the prospect of them now missing the start of the season, which is in just 2 weeks' time. Don't forget that. The Community Shield is in just 13 days' time. So the season is coming up very fast. So little injuries will affect the start of the season now. And losing Rasmus and Yoro already is a real concern because, I'll be honest with you, they both looked pretty good. And now we can transition from the injuries and the fitness of the players to the actual performance, because it really was a game of 2 halves. I thought in the first half we were absolutely fantastic. Some of the best football I've seen from Manchester United under Erik ten Hag. And in the second half, we were absolutely awful, woeful, and to be honest, I don't think there's a single player other than Johnny Evans who can hold their head up high in that second half in terms of outfield players. I thought Onana played well as well. But we'll talk about the first half first, because why wouldn't we? Style of play, I thought was really good. Front foot, pressing, getting on the ball, playing passes, a high defensive line. We kept a high defensive line all game, first half and second half. And for the most part, I think it worked really well. And it didn't matter that we had Harry Maguire in the back line. I said about this before. The issue with having Maguire in a high line was not Harry Maguire, it was David De Gea. And it was that gap between Maguire on the halfway line and De Gea still on his 6-yard line. When Arsenal played balls over the top today, if Maguire wasn't able to sweep it up, then Onana was sweeping it up. And he did it very well. And the pair of them did it very well, depending on which one had to deal with it. And obviously Yoro had to deal with it as well. And then Reece Bennett when he came on for Yoro's injury. And I thought first half we defended absolutely fantastically. I thought Maguire was brilliant. One of the best games I've seen from Harry Maguire in a very long while. And if he continues to play like that, there is definitely a place for him in my squad for next season. I'm happy for him to be the left-sided cover for Martinez if Maguire is going to play to that level, because his composure was very good. From there, across the rest of the back line, I thought Wan-Bissaka played really well at right back. I thought Harry Amass at 17 years of age looked absolutely fantastic at left back. Again, we're being linked with left backs. I don't think we need one. I say that, to be fair, we're being linked more with right backs that are capable of playing at left back as well. But like I say, I think Harry Amass played fantastically. In midfield, I thought Casemiro was better. Still not brilliant, but I thought Casemiro was better. I thought Toby Collyer was absolutely fantastic again. He didn't really get on the ball a lot, but what he was doing was that Ji-sung Park, Darren Fletcher, Nicky Butt and Herrera, he was doing the job on Odegaard. Odegaard wasn't in the game for Arsenal until the second half because Toby Collyer was on him. He was just his shadow. He was chasing around. He was being aggressive. He was being physical. The Arsenal players even moaned at the referee because Toby Collyer was being too aggressive. Well, have a word with Jorginho, please, for kicking the absolute poo out of Mason Mount all half. So Toby Collyer I thought was fantastic. He definitely deserves a spot in the first team for next season. Squad, not probably starting 11. Mason Mount, again, best performance I've seen from him so far in pre-season. Again, intensity, running, hard work, getting on the ball, creating chances. The wide players I'm not going to say I was disappointed because I think they both did all right. The assist from Rashford was fantastic. Still think he could run a bit more. I still think he's being a bit lazy. When he had it, though, he was playing passes well with Mount and Hojlund and with Amas, linking up well like he normally does with Luke Shaw. Ahmad on the other side, again, his link-up play with Wan-Bissaka was good. Feeding inside, shooting when he wanted to, passing it when he needed to. And then Rasmus Hojlund, albeit only being on the pitch for 15 minutes, was a real danger. His runs in behind, his relentless pressing, and his goal is fantastic. And you can tell he's been working with Van Nistelrooy already. It was a very Van Nistelrooy-esque goal from Rasmus Hojlund. Rashford picked it up, sent it over the top. It was a 50-50 with Heaven. He shrugged him off. He used his pace. He used his power. Closed down the goalkeeper. And then just slotted it through the goalkeeper's legs. A brilliant goal from Rasmus Hojlund. And he was unlucky, arguably unlucky, not to get a second in a goal that was very reminiscent of the goal that we scored in the FA Cup final, where we played from back to front, through midfield, out wide to Wan-Bissaka, ball inside towards Hojlund. I think he should have gone with his right foot rather than trying to jab it in on the outside of his left foot. And in the process of doing that, that's when the hamstring injury occurred. So just needs to work on that right foot a little bit, but a really impressive showing in those first 10-15 minutes from Rasmus. Positive signs for him. Hopefully he can get himself back fit. As for the Arsenal goal itself in that first half, I think the common consensus now is it was offside. I may put that as my community post for today. Was Arsenal's first goal yesterday onside or offside? I'm still unsure, but probably just leaning towards offside. I think the initial pass was on. I think Amas and Maguire were playing. I think it was Wanyeri, who had a very good game, by the way, for any Arsenal fans watching. I thought Wanyeri was a very, very good player in that first half. He then plays it across to Jesus. It's that pass from Wanyeri to Jesus, which is the one that looks offside to me. But let me know in the comments, let me know in the community post, was Jesus offside? As for the second half, like I say, other than Johnny Evans and Andre Onana, every single other one of those players was average at best. And I know there are some youngsters on there as well. Oyedele, Sam Murray, Scanlon playing out of position, which I don't really understand why you play an attacking midfielder / right mid at right back. If you've not got cover at right back, you just play Wan-Bissaka until Dalot comes back. So I don't understand playing Scanlon out of position at right back. And then obviously Fish as well, which we'll get to shortly. But what I want to focus on firstly is the senior players, as it were, in the form of Eriksen, McTominay, Sancho and Antony. Not good enough. Firstly, I spoke about it enough last season. Why are we playing McTominay in attacking midfield and Eriksen in defensive midfield? McTominay is your runner. Eriksen is your creator. If the worry is that without Eriksen in holding midfield, we can't get the ball from midfield to attack, then what's the point in putting McTominay in attacking midfield? Because when Eriksen gets the ball into him, McTominay's still then not going to be able to find the wingers and the striker. There was a brilliant opportunity when McTominay picked the ball up on the halfway line, drove at the defence. Wheatley was pointing. He was pointing for it. He wanted it in behind. It was there once. It was there twice. And eventually McTominay just did nothing. And he was fouled, but it wasn't given. But not good enough from Scott McTominay. And obviously I've been a massive fan of McTominay. You know how much I love McTominay. I think he's an important squad player. However, that was before I saw Toby Collier, who is Scott McTominay, but arguably already better and 8 years younger. So far as I'm concerned now, if a significant enough bid comes in from Fulham, again, take it, sell McTominay, get some money in and start playing Toby Collier full time because he looks like an even more complete player than McTominay anyway. Anthony and Sancho did nothing. I think Anthony gave the ball away probably more times than any player in the first half combined. And Jadon Sancho just was not in the game at all. Everything was going down the right-hand side. That's why I'm not going to have a go at Murray, because Murray didn't really have much to do. And then when we got it out to Sancho, again, a couple of fancy touches, but no creativity. And poor old Ethan Wheatley just didn't get a kick of the ball. So I can't have a go at him at all. And the way I look at it, we had a starting 11 in that first half. And then you look at the players that are coming back. So you've got 11 players in that starting lineup. Then you've got Dalot to come back, Bruno to come back, Xerxes to come back, Pellistri to come back, Mainu to come back, Shaw to come back, and I'm probably missing one or two others. Martinez to come back, Garnacho to come back. So that's 8 players to come back into that first team. That's your substitutes. Like, I'm not being funny. Obviously, some of them will go into the actual first team. But you take that starting 11 and the 8 players still to come back from the international break. That's your squad going into the season. You don't need Eriksen. You don't need Sancho. You don't need McTominay. You don't need Anthony. Get rid of them. Have Johnny Evans as your spare, and then you have the youngsters. And obviously your backup goalkeeper. So that's your squad. You don't need these senior players that are just burning wages and not offering anything to the first team. That would be my advice going forward. Try and get some money in for these players. The youngsters look talented. Give them more opportunities, and then just use that starting 11 and the players coming back from the international break. And there's almost an argument to say we don't need any new signings. People keep talking about we need Ugarte or we need Amrabat back in. Toby Collier's right there. Collyer and Mainu could be our midfield partnership for this season. Bruno as the attacker, Mount as the backup. Sorted. I'm not saying that these two can play every minute of every game, but you've still got Casemiro who can do a job in certain games. Obviously, if you can get money in for him, then you obviously go for a Ugarte or a Amrabat or someone else in that midfield. But honestly, I've seen enough today to convince me that some of these youngsters are ready to go, and there are senior players in the squad that are still performing at a good level. And most notably of that today was Harry Maguire in that first half. So, like I say, I'm not too fussed about the result. I mean, if you want to talk about the second goal, that was some really, really poor defending for that second goal for Arsenal. Firstly, again, I'm not going to have a go at Scanlon. He's an attacking midfielder playing at right back up against a fresh Martinelli. He had no chance. He got rinsed. You can argue that Onyedeli could have done a little bit better once Martinelli had cut inside, but Will Fish has to take the blame for this one. And I don't want to have a go at young players, but I said it the other day when I watched Will Fish. For me, he's not a good enough standard, and he's been playing for Hibernian in Scotland where, you know, they said he had a really good season. What is a good season for Hibernian? Like, mid-table Scottish Premiership. That's not Premiership. That's not Premier League. That's barely Championship. So I'm not going to get excited about Will Fish having good seasons for Hibernian when Martinelli's cutting inside and he needs to put his body on the line, and not only does he bottle making the tackle in the first place, he then spreads his legs for Martinelli to put it through them and put it in the back of the net. So for me, Fish not good enough. He probably needs to be moved on from the academy graduate scheme or however they do it at Manchester United. Get some money in for him as well. But yeah, like I say, I can't complain about the overall result. I think first half we were the better team and we only went in level because the officials were pretty crap for both teams. Players should have been booked. Fouls were given when they shouldn't have been. Fouls weren't given when they should have been. And offside decisions for both teams were incorrect. Arsenal had one in the second half that should have been onside that wasn't given. The goal should have been given offside and wasn't. So the officials were poor all round. So I can't complain in that regard. And we did obviously win the penalty shootout. So, well, hey, who's the real winners, right? At the end of the day, the final team that won were Manchester United winning on penalties. So the result doesn't matter anyway. But overall, first half performance, really positive. Second half performance, really concerning. Injuries, really concerning. But I think, like I say, get the rest of the first team back in for either the Betis game or the Liverpool game. Definitely give them minutes before the Community Shield. And I think we've got the makings of a good squad. I like the tactics. I like the way we're playing out from the back. I like how high the line is. I like how well Onana's sweeping. And I like how creative we looked when that first team was on the ball. So, positives and negatives, as you'd always expect from pre-season. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Thank you very much for watching as always. I'll see you very soon.